When a stranger says your name before you've told them, it's not a coincidence. It's a warning. And by the time we figured that out, he was already at our door. After Dad died, everything collapsed like one of the cardboard models I used to build. You try to keep it together, glue down the corners, but the whole thing just folds in on itself eventually. Mom couldn't afford the house in Henderson, Nevada anymore. Within a month, we were packing everything we owned into the back of a rented U-Haul and heading northwest to Brookings, Oregon. I didn't know anything about the town except that it was near the ocean and it rained a lot. We moved into a small duplex near the highway. 2 bedrooms, creaky floors, and a heater that clicked for 10 minutes before doing anything useful. Mom worked almost constantly. Day shifts cleaning offices, then straight to night shifts at the Redwood Motel. That left me and Jenna, my cousin, to manage the rest of life. Jenna had dropped out of college in California. Something about burnout or a toxic roommate situation. I didn't ask much. She came to help us out, but really, I think she needed the reset too. She was 23, wore ripped jeans and flannels, and said, "my guy," every other sentence like it was punctuation. But she was the only person who really talked to me since the move, so I didn't mind. I spent most of my time in my room building tiny things out of garbage. Models, makeshift robots, towers from toothpicks and glue. My closet was overflowing with materials, wires, cardboard, plastic lids, broken toys, stripped motors from old RC cars. That Saturday morning, Jenna stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, shaking her head. "You need to organize this crap before it comes alive and eats you," she said. I laughed barely. "It's organized in my head." "Yeah, well, unless your brain has shelves, we need a box, a big one." We tried Walmart. The ones big enough were like $25, which might as well have been $100 in our world. Jenna scrolled through Craigslists later that afternoon. She mumbled through listings like a detective. "Nope, too far, sketchy. Ooh, this guy's selling a 50-gallon tote for $5. She clicked on the ad. One photo looked decent. Big, blue, dusty. The guy's name was Dennis. His message said it was lightly used and ideal for storage or organization. Jenna messaged him. He replied within 20 minutes. Said we could meet that Sunday evening at 7:40 p.m. at the back entrance of the Safeway on Oregon Street. Not the front lot, the back, where trucks unloaded. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Bit odd, but it's public enough. She made me promise I'd stay in the car. I check it out. I'm serious, Milo. People are weird. Just sit tight. When Sunday came, clouds pressed low over the town. It was cold and damp, and the whole place smelled like wet pavement and pine needles. We pulled into the back lot of Safeway, empty, except for one crookedly parked white van. No markings. Its back doors were shut tight. He came out a minute later. Gray sweatshirt, baggy jeans. The way he walked, knees stiff, arms hanging strangely, made my skin prickle. Jenna got out and waved. "You the one with the tote?" he asked. "Yup, you got it." He nodded and opened the van. Inside were tools, gas cans, a rusted lawnmower, and several large Rubbermaid totes. Nothing illegal, but nothing exactly right either. I leaned forward in the car. Something inside the van caught my eye. Shoes. Kids' shoes. Not just one pair, at least 5. Different sizes, all shoved against the van's side like garbage. I texted Jenna fast. "Don't go in. Shoes in the van." She looked at her phone mid-sentence, then straightened up. "We're good, actually," she said.
forcing a polite smile. Dennis just stood there. "It's 50 gallons, says on the label." "Yeah, just not what we're after," Jenna said, stepping backward. Then he tilted his head. "Didn't you say your cousin's name was Milo?" She hadn't, not once. Jenna turned fast, got in, locked the doors. I heard her breath catch in her throat as she started the engine. "He was watching us," she said, "before we even got there." We didn't talk after that, just drove quiet. Back at the duplex, the light over our porch flickered like it always did, buzzing faintly. Jenna got out of the car first, checking the street both ways. I followed close behind, adrenaline still tingling in my chest. Inside, we shut the blinds and double-locked the door. She paced the living room for a while. I sat on the couch, hugging a throw pillow like a shield.
"You okay?" I asked. "No," she said bluntly. "He knew your name, Milo. I didn't even mention I had someone with me. But how would he? I don't know. We decided not to tell Mom. If she knew, she'd freak, quit one of her jobs, and then we'd be back to counting cans of soup for dinner." Jenna kept saying it was probably a fluke, a creepy dude who guessed something right. That night, I didn't sleep much. Every creak in the house felt louder. At one point, I thought I heard gravel crunching outside my window. I told myself it was the neighbor's cat. The next morning was gray and still. Gloria Whitman, the elderly neighbor across the street, was already outside watering her dead roses with a green plastic jug. She didn't speak much, but she watched everything like a human security camera. I used to think she was nosy. Now I kind of appreciated it. That evening around dusk, someone knocked. Jenna peeked out the peephole, then opened the door a crack. It was Gloria in her pink bathrobe and foam slippers. "You folks expecting someone?" she asked. Jenna frowned. "No? Why? I seen a man in your backyard, twice now, just standing by the trees. Thought you should know." I swear I felt the blood drain from my arms. Jenna's eyes darkened. "When?" she asked. "Last night and just a bit ago. Might have been the same fella. Hard to say. Kinda hunched. Wore gray. Didn't look like he belonged." "Did you call anyone?" Jenna asked. Gloria squinted. "Figured I'd tell you first, but I will if he comes back." After she left, Jenna locked all the windows. She pulled the baseball bat from Mom's closet and leaned it by the front door. We called the police. They came by half an hour later. 2 officers. One walked the property, the other asked questions. "Could be a deer," one of them said, glancing around. "Close to the highway, or someone passing through." Yeah, I wanted to scream. Jenna didn't. She just nodded and said thanks. The next day passed slowly. At school, I could barely focus. I kept checking over my shoulder, convinced someone was following me down the hall. Every time a teacher called my name for attendance, it jolted me. Not because I wasn't used to hearing it, but because now I wondered who else knew it. When I got home, Jenna was already in the kitchen heating up boxed mac and cheese. She didn't say much. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't slept either. We sat in silence, picking at dinner while some reality show played quietly on the TV. At 9:13 p.m., the doorbell rang. We both froze. Jenna mouthed, "Don't move." She crept to the peephole, then turned and whispered, "No one's there." A chill ran through me. The doorbell rang again, this time twice in a row, rapid. Jenna flung open the door, bat in hand. The porch was empty, but sitting in the middle of the welcome mat was a Rubbermaid tote. Same kind, same size, same dull blue plastic. The label still read 50 gal in faded marker. It was closed. No note, no markings. "Don't touch it," I said, stepping behind her. Jenna looked around. No car sounds, no footsteps. How the hell? She called the police again. They sent a different officer this time, younger, more polite. "Could be a prank," he offered after peeking in the tote and finding it empty. Jenna didn't buy it. Neither did I. That night, she moved the tote into the garage with gloves on. Then she dragged an old folding chair into my room and slept in it. She said she didn't trust her own room, not with the back window facing the trees. I didn't sleep at all. I just stared at the ceiling and waited for the next thing. Wednesday came and went without incident. It almost felt normal, until around 5:30 p.m. when I went out front to check the mail and noticed a piece of yellow string tied around the handle of our mailbox. It wasn't tape, not a label, just string knotted tight, like someone had been there and left a signal. I didn't touch it. I backed up and ran inside. Jenna didn't speak when I told her. She just exhaled through her nose, then grabbed her phone and took a picture of it. "We need to go," she said after a minute. "Where?" "Anywhere but here." She messaged Mom, told her we were going to the library for a while. In reality, we drove to the other side of town and parked in the high school lot. We sat there in the car, windows cracked, Jenna's hand resting on the bat in the passenger seat. "I keep thinking," she said after a long silence, "what if he wrote down the plate number that night or took a picture? What if he's not just some guy trying to sell a storage box? What if he's done this before?" "What do you mean?" I said quietly. She didn't answer. At 7:02 p.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You forgot your box." She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she blocked the number and turned the phone off completely. "I'm reporting this again," she muttered, "and we're leaving town this weekend. I'll figure it out." We didn't go home until almost 10. Gloria was still up, porch light on, a flashlight in hand. She waved us down. "Cops came by while you were out," she said. "Check the alley." Guess what they found? "What?" Jenna asked. "Footprints in the mud by your fence. Not fresh, but not old either." We didn't sleep that night. We just sat on the couch with every light on. I tried to read, but I couldn't concentrate. Jenna kept checking the windows, walking slow, bat always close by. Saturday morning, Jenna packed a duffel bag. She didn't tell Mom yet, just said we were going to stay with a friend in Crescent City for a few days. Somewhere with more people, more light, somewhere he wasn't. I loaded my backpack with clothes and model parts. As we backed out of the driveway, I glanced down the street. The white van was parked across from Gloria's house. No driver, no movement, just there. "Don't look," Jenna said, turning fast. "Just keep your head down." We drove straight to Crescent City and stayed with one of Jenna's old college friends. It wasn't glamorous, bare mattress, dishes in the sink, but it felt safe. For the first time in weeks, I slept all the way through the night. 2 days later, Mom called. She was panicking. "There was a break-in," she said. "Back window was open. The police think it was just a kid. Nothing stolen. But the garage." We knew better. When we got home a few days later, the tote was gone from the garage. But Jenna never deleted the photos, the ad, the message, the shoes in the van. She printed everything and left it in a manila folder marked, "In case something happens." A month passed, no more sightings, no texts, no boxes. But every time I walked home from school, I checked every parked van, every corner. And I never answered the door again if I didn't know who it was. That feeling you get when something feels off, that's not fear. It's your body keeping you alive. Whether it's a Craigslist ad, a late-night knock, or a stranger who says your name when they shouldn't know it, your safety matters more than politeness, more than the deal, more than the explanation.
$85 seemed like a steal for a laptop. But by the time that blue screen appeared, I realized the only thing that got stolen was my son's hope and my trust. Long before I found myself standing in a Wendy's parking lot holding 85 crumpled dollars, I was someone who still believed things had a way of working out. I wasn't naive, just stubborn. I held on to hope the way some people hold on to pride, tight, too tight, until it leaves marks. I'd been working at the same call center for 5 years, It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Then came April, reduced hours. Then May, total layoff. By June, my account balance dipped into a number that made my chest hurt every time I looked at it. And then my son's laptop died. That old-school loaner Chromebook that had barely survived the spring semester gave up completely. Jaime needed it for his summer learning program. He was 10, quiet, thoughtful, always scribbling something in his notebook. He loved tech and hated crowds. And he hated asking for help, especially from me. "I can do it on my phone," he'd said, already trying to act grown when I told him the Chromebook was toast. "You can't write stories on a phone, baby." "I can try." That night, after he went to bed, I sat on our couch scrolling Craigslist. My cousin Sierra had warned me about buying off there. They got killers and scammers on there, Tash. People getting kidnapped over TVs and couches. You want your picture on the news for a laptop? I laughed, but not because it was funny, because I was out of options. Craigslist wasn't the last resort, it was the only resort. I found the ad at 1:07 a.m. HP Pavilion laptop, light use only, $85. Factory reset, comes with charger, perfect for student use. It looked clean, said pickup was in Macon. The guy, Chris G., responded to my message within minutes. Still available, moving to Tallahassee tomorrow, can meet at Wendy's on Pineview, 3:15. I told Sierra. She immediately said, "I'm coming with you." And that's how I found myself 2 days later, gripping my purse and trying not to sweat through my shirt in a Wendy's parking lot, while Jaime kicked his feet in the back seat and Sierra gave the world her best side eye. The guy pulled up right on time. Gray Nissan, tinted windows, a little dusty. He stepped out in a red t-shirt and jeans, shaved head, sunglasses on like he was still hiding from someone. "Y'all here for the pavilion?" he asked, holding a black laptop sleeve like it was an afterthought. "That's us," I said. I kept my voice calm but firm. Sierra didn't say anything. She just leaned against the passenger door with her arms crossed. Jaime watched from the back seat like he was trying to scan Chris's whole face and pull up a report on him. Chris opened the sleeve and pulled out the laptop. HP, black, thin. It didn't look fancy, but it didn't look fake either. He powered it on. The screen lit up. Windows logo. Battery said 93%. I used it for online classes during COVID. Factory reset it last week. Just need the cash. Moving out tonight. "Got the charger?" I asked. He handed it to me without a pause. Standard plug, not frayed. He even plugged it into his car's inverter and showed it charging. "You can test it out more," he offered. Sierra finally spoke. "Why you selling it so cheap?" Chris laughed. "Ain't got time to play price games, just trying to clear stuff out fast." It was a solid answer. I counted out the money, 5 20s, a 10, and a 5. He didn't even double check it, just shoved it in his pocket. "Y'all take care," he said, backing up with a quick nod. He pulled off with a dusty screech. I glanced at Sierra. "Well?" I asked. "I still don't trust it," she said, "but it boots, and he didn't try anything stupid. Let's get out." Jaime held that laptop like it was made of glass the entire ride home. The first 2 days were golden. Jaime opened the thing before he even took his shoes off. He found a way to install his writing program, even pulled up a free typing tutorial. He wrote a short story, 10 pages long, about a robot who wanted to be a poet. I watched him tap away at the keys and remembered what it felt like to see your kid light up from the inside. "You okay, Mom?" he asked that night after dinner. "Yeah, baby," I said, just happy. By the second night, he was emailing his cousin and researching space facts again.
I started to think maybe Craigslist wasn't so bad after all. Maybe people like Chris were just trying to get by like the rest of us. Then came day 3. I was folding laundry when Jaime walked out of his room slowly, laptop in both hands, face pale. "Mom, what is it?" It just shut off, then came back. Now it's asking for something, a BitLocker recovery key. I frowned. What's that mean? He turned the screen to show me. Plain blue screen, white letters. Enter BitLocker recovery key to unlock this drive. We tried rebooting. Same message. I Googled it on my phone. Looks like it's a security thing, I said. Needs a key to tie to the original owner's Microsoft account. Can we call him? Jaime asked. I tried. Disconnected. His Craigslist page, gone. We drove to a local computer shop. The tech guy, a tired college kid with bitten nails, glanced at the screen and gave us the kind of look doctors give in movies when they know something's terminal. "Yeah, you're locked out," he said. "Happens a lot. People sell off corporate laptops or stolen ones, and the system kicks in later. Recovery keys only available to whoever originally set it up." "How much to fix?" "Maybe $150, but even then, no guarantee." I didn't even have 50. Jaime didn't cry. He just nodded and handed me the laptop like it was already dead. We were quiet the whole ride home. Sierra called me that night. I told her what happened. "We should have checked more," she snapped. "Damn, made him log in, made him show ID. We were too trusting." "I just wanted it to be real," I said. The silence hung there for a long time. 3 weeks passed. I worked late braiding hair, took extra DoorDash shifts, skipped lunch more than once. I found an old Kindle tablet and tried to get Jaime's work to run on it. It was slow, but he made do. He always made do. Then, on a Tuesday, Sierra texted me a screenshot. Craigslisting, Dell XPS, light use only, $90. Moving to Savannah tomorrow. Can meet at Wendy's lot, Pineview. Different name, different photos, same language, same scam. I stared at the screen for a long time, not sure if I was angrier at him or myself. "I'm reporting it," Sierra said. I didn't stop her. But even if they caught him, the money was gone. Jaime's summer program was almost over. We'd missed our shot again. Sometimes when I open my closet, I still see the laptop. It sits there, tucked under a stack of towels, a monument to what happens when hope meets hustle and gets caught in the middle. I didn't throw it out, not because I can't let go, but because I won't forget. Not what it cost me, not what it taught me. I've learned to ask more questions, to trust my gut even when it's inconvenient, to check serial numbers, to make sellers log in, to get receipts, even on a parking lot deal. And I've learned that when you're broke, everything feels like a lifeline. Every deal, every job, every maybe. But sometimes that rope is wrapped around a hook. I don't hate Chris G. I don't even know if that's his real name. Maybe he needed the money just like me. Maybe he didn't care who he hurt. Doesn't matter. What matters is what I do next. I saved again, bought Jaime a refurbished laptop from a certified store 3 months later. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. He's writing again. Says he wants to make video games someday. I told him he can do anything, long as he keeps his eyes open. That's the moral of it all, I think. Hope isn't a bad thing, but hope without caution, that's how people fall. And next time, I'll bring more than cash and company. I'll bring questions. I'll bring receipts. Because this world doesn't owe you fairness. Sometimes it only gives you lessons.
Antique mirrors are supposed to reflect the past, but this one reflected something else.
A warning carved into oak and written on a sticky note that said, "Don't turn around." I'd always had a soft spot for old things. Frames with chipped corners, hand-painted teacups, anything that looked like it carried a story to tell. That probably came from my grandmother. She used to say, "Things that last a lifetime always carry a little bit of soul." I don't know if that's true, but after my breakup with Drew, I was clinging to anything that felt solid. I moved into the rental in Santa Rosa at the end of September. It was a little place tucked behind a row of walnut trees, half a duplex with scuffed hardwood floors and a porch swing that creaked when no one was sitting in it. It was quiet, and it was mine. After 3 years of sharing a one-bedroom apartment with a man who slowly made me feel like I took up too much space, even silence felt like freedom. But freedom is expensive, especially when you're freelancing as an interior designer during a slow season and trying to furnish a home from scratch. I didn't have the money for West Elm or Pottery Barn. Most days I scrolled Craigslist with my coffee, looking for second-hand pieces that didn't look haunted. Funny how that word sticks in your head. It was a Saturday morning, cold enough for socks but too early for heat. I was curled up on my floor mattress when I saw it. A Craigslist ad titled, "Antique Mirror, $80, must pick up tonight." The photos weren't professional, but the mirror was beautiful. Tall, probably 6 feet, with a dark oak frame carved into vines and lilies. Definitely Art Nouveau. It looked like something you'd see behind the counter in an old apothecary. The kind of thing I would have never afforded new. The seller listed herself as Mara J. The message said, "Still available, must pick up tonight. Bring help, heavy, cash only." That part made me pause. I'd messaged Craigslist sellers before. Most of them were laid back, even flaky. This felt urgent, like she needed it gone. Still, the price was right, and I hadn't treated myself to anything beautiful since moving in. I messaged her asking for the address. Red Creek Road, past mile marker 42. Look for a white mailbox, long gravel driveway. The name of the road rang a bell, but not in a warm way. It was one of those places that wasn't quite in town and not quite out. I hesitated. Then I did what women always do when we go places alone. We make a plan. I texted my sister, "Going to pick up a mirror, little outside town. I'll text when I'm home." She replied with a thumbs up and a warning. "If it smells like murder, leave." I laughed out loud, but I still brought my pepper spray and a flashlight just in case. I left at 6:30 p.m. with the mirror on my mind and $80 tucked in my front pocket. The sun was low when I hit the edge of town. I passed quiet roads, thick vines, barns that looked abandoned. It was beautiful in that slightly eerie way California countryside can be. But by the time I saw that white mailbox bent sideways like someone had hit it with a truck, I didn't feel like laughing anymore. The gravel road wound through a corridor of trees that seemed too dense for the season. My headlights barely cut through the shadows, and just when I thought about turning around, the woods opened up into a small clearing. A one-story house, probably post-war construction, with peeling paint and a dim porch light. No cars in sight, no sound, just the house and me. I pulled up slowly and parked. The trees leaned in like they were listening. I texted Mara, "Here." No reply. And then, like a scene out of something I'd always roll my eyes at, a man stepped out from the front door. He wore overalls and a denim jacket. His hair was gray at the temples, but he wasn't old. He looked like someone who chopped wood for fun. He just stood there, staring, until I rolled my window down. "You here for the mirror?" he asked. Flat voice, barely a blink. "Yeah, is Mara here?" "She's inside," he said, stepping back. "I'm her brother, Wade." That's when the cold hit me. The air had been mild all day, but in that moment, it turned sharp. Still, I got out because I didn't want to be rude, because the mirror was too good a deal, because I didn't want to seem scared. I walked up the porch steps slowly, noticing how the wood groaned beneath my boots. He didn't open the door wider, just turned and walked in, expecting me to follow. And I did, even though every instinct I had was already whispering not to. The smell hit me first, musty like damp wood and old carpet that had been left to rot. Not unbearable, but sharp. Not what I expected from someone selling antiques. Inside, the house was darker than it should have been. One bulb lit the living room, hanging from a fixture with no cover. The light flickered slightly, buzzing faintly. There were no rugs, no curtains, just bare windows and yellowed walls. The furniture, if you could call it that, was a folding chair and a crooked side table, not even dusted. It didn't feel like someone had lived here. It felt like someone had been here recently, just long enough to unlock the door.
"She's in the back," Wade said, not looking at me. He pointed down a hallway that seemed to go too far for the size of the house. "You ready? Mirrors set up for pickup." I hovered near the doorway, not ready to step in all the way. "Is Mara okay?" "She's resting. Long day," he said in an even voice, like he was reciting a script. I swallowed and took a step inside. My boots made soft thumps on the wood. Wade didn't move or follow right away, but I could feel his eyes on me. I glanced around for signs of life. Shoes, a purse, a coat hanging by the door. Nothing. No smell of food. No hum of a refrigerator. Just emptiness. The hallway was narrow, walls bare. There was a door slightly ajar at the end, with a dim amber glow coming through. I walked slower now. The air felt heavier somehow, like the house had exhaled and was waiting to breathe again. As I reached the door, I looked back. Wade was there, closer than before, just standing silently behind me, like he drifted forward without a sound. I turned back and stepped into the room. There was no Mara, no furniture, no windows, just the mirror. It stood on the far wall, taller than I remembered from the pictures, leaned slightly forward, like someone had just finished adjusting it. The frame was even more beautiful up close, worn oak with lilies and vines carved deep into the wood. But it was the glass that made me pause, because it wasn't reflecting me. Not right away, anyway. It was dark, like looking through tinted glass. And then, slowly, it caught the shape of the room and me. But behind the reflection, I saw smudges, palm prints from the inside of the mirror, as if someone had been pushing to get out. And then, I saw the note. Taped to the upper right corner was a yellow sticky note, edges curled. It read, "Don't turn around, walk out fast." I stood frozen, heart thudding in my ears. I could hear Wade's breathing now, closer. Something primal inside me finally kicked in. I turned my head slightly. "Where is Mara exactly?" "She's resting," he repeated. No inflection, no movement. I smiled, something instinctive, polite. "Oh, okay. I think I left my cash in the Jeep." He didn't say a word, just stood there, blocking half the hallway behind me. I nodded, my hand gripping my phone inside my coat pocket. "Just 1 second." I turned and walked slowly, calmly, back toward the front.
No sudden movements, just polite distance. He didn't follow. Not yet. Outside, the cold air slapped my face. It was almost a relief. I walked a wide loop around the Jeep like I was searching for something in the back seat. I didn't look at the house. I didn't check to see if Wade was behind me. I got in fast, locked the doors. My hands shook as I pushed the key into the ignition. The porch light buzzed again, still no sound from inside. I reversed quickly and didn't stop until I hit the main road. That's when I saw it. In the trees, just before the road opened up, hidden behind a few thick branches, was a steel burn barrel, still smoldering. Pale smoke curled up toward the dark sky. Inside were scraps of blackened wood, melted plastic, and something that looked off. I slowed down for a split second. There was a person there, or what was left of one. Red leather, buckled front, exactly like the kind I used to see at vintage stores. I didn't stop. I didn't take a picture. I didn't want to look longer than I had. I just drove fast. I didn't call 911 right away. I didn't even speak until I was back in town, parked in front of a gas station, breathing hard into my hands. Then I made the call. Told the dispatcher everything. The mirror, the man, the address, the note. I left out how scared I'd been, how stupid I felt. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I left every light on. My cat hid under the bed and wouldn't come out. 2 days later, a deputy called me back. The house was empty, furniture gone, no sign of a mirror, no sign of Wade, no Mara J in the county registry. The listing was gone too, deleted like it had never been there. Could be a squatter or someone using a fake name, the deputy said. File the report. Hard to say. That was it. Nothing more they could do.
I still had the sticky note. I'd shoved it in my coat pocket without thinking. I found it that night and taped it to my fridge, not as a souvenir, but as a warning. I stopped using Craigslist after that. I went back to big box stores and digital catalogs, Etsy, Facebook Marketplace if I really needed a deal, but only porch pickups, only public places. And I never bought another mirror. I thought I'd forget. That's what people assume after close calls. You get through it, go home, maybe talk about it once or twice, and then the days blur and your life continues. But the body remembers. The following week, I couldn't sleep, not deeply. I kept waking at 3 or 4 in the morning, thinking I heard footsteps, floor creaks, doors shifting. I'd lie there with my hand clenched around my phone under the blanket, the blue light flickering against the ceiling. I unboxed the door camera I'd bought last year but never installed. I set it up the next day. It didn't help me sleep, but I needed to know if anyone came near that door again. Lewis, my neighbor from across the hall, knocked one morning while I was sorting through leftover paint swatches in the entryway. He was holding a coffee and wearing the same hoodie I'd seen him in most mornings. We'd never talked before, beyond a nod in the hallway. "You all right?" he asked, voice low. I blinked at him. "Yeah, why?" "I saw you the other night. You came back fast, looked pale. Just weird vibe," he said. "Then 2 nights later, I saw a white pickup circling the lot. Slow, no lights. Figured I should say something." That was the first time I told someone the full story out loud. Not just the police version, but everything. The smell of the house, the fake normalcy, the sticky note, the mirror. Lewis didn't react with disbelief. He just listened, eyes steady. When I finished, he nodded once and said, "Yeah, that wasn't a cellar. That was a setup." The word setup settled in my stomach like a stone. Craigslist is like rolling dice, he said. Most folks are normal, but some aren't.
and they count on the way you're thinking they are. After that, he started checking in more. Small things, waving when I got home, tapping once on the wall between our apartments before bed. It helped more than I expected. I found myself walking through the house differently too. Slower, checking corners, watching reflections. The mirror stayed in my mind like a thorn I couldn't pull out. Not just because of what almost happened, but because someone had left a note. Someone before me. Someone who didn't get out. It took me 3 months before I could go into a thrift store again. Even then, I stuck to clothes and kitchenware. No furniture, no glass. I'd look past the mirrors like they were open doors to places I didn't want to visit. In January, I finally gave in and bought a small mirror for the bathroom from Target, new and sealed. Still, I kept it covered for the first week, like it had to earn my trust. One night, while brushing my teeth, I noticed my own reflection looking off. Not scary, just tired. My eyes were sunken, my shoulders hunched. I hadn't realized how small I'd made myself, how careful. That's when it hit me. What scared me the most wasn't Wade or the house or the mirror. It was how easy it had been for someone to learn just enough about me to set the trap. A vulnerable woman redecorating after a breakup, on a budget, looking for charm, willing to drive a little too far if the price was right. I'd handed that story to the internet without realizing it. Through social posts, through Craigslist messages, breadcrumbs all out in the open. That's what Wade, or whoever he was, used. That's how predators work. They don't chase, they wait, and they smile. I kept the sticky note. It's still on my fridge, faded now, curling at the corners. I've thought about throwing it away more than once, but I can't, because someone left it for me. A stranger who never got the chance to walk out. A warning that came just in time. If I hadn't looked close, if I'd turned my back to the mirror, I don't know what would have happened. I don't want to know. I never replied to another Craigslist listing. I moved again after my lease ended. Closer to family, brighter windows, a neighborhood with sidewalks and streetlights that actually work. I still decorate, still love old things. But now I care just as much about where they come from as how they look. The past leaves fingerprints, and sometimes those prints aren't on the surface. They're pressed into the spaces no one thinks to clean. Sometimes the most dangerous things don't come with warnings. They come with offers. And sometimes the difference between a good deal and a trap is just one moment of gut instinct. Listen to it. Trust your fear when it whispers. Because survival isn't about being brave. It's about being careful and walking away when something doesn't feel right, even if it's just a mirror.
I was 22 years old and broke enough to answer a Craigslist ad from a man I'd never met. By the time I realized what he was really offering, it wasn't yard work. It was a lesson in how quickly desperation can blind you to danger. Long before I met Mr. Kenny, I was already drowning, just not the kind anyone sees from the outside. I was 22 and broke. Not metaphorically broke, not watching my budget, broke. I had $947 to my name and half a pack of ramen left in Calvin's pantry. Calvin's my cousin, older by 3 years, already working full-time at a sheet metal shop. Already annoyed I was crashing on his couch for just a few days, which had somehow become 3 weeks. We weren't close, but I didn't have many people left to ask. He let me stay under one condition:
Don't drag in any weird Craigslist crap. That morning, I opened every gig app on my phone. Nothing. Nobody wanted a guy who dropped out of Lackawanna College after one semester and didn't even finish his last warehouse job because they restructured. I was tired of lying in messages, pretending to be someone worth hiring. Then I saw it. Help needed. Light outdoor work. $100 cash. Lunch included. Must be okay with dogs. 3 to 4 hours max. No experience required. Call before 10 a.m. I stared at it for a while. It felt like bait, but I was hungry enough to bite. I called. The voice on the other end was warm, almost like a retired teacher. "Theo, is that it? I'm Mr. Kenny. You sound polite. That's rare these days. Thank you for calling." He said it was simple yard work, clearing vines, moving old fencing panels. "I make soup from scratch," he added. "Don't worry, nothing weird. You'll be well fed." That's when I should have hung up. The fact that he felt the need to say nothing weird. But I didn't, because I needed the money. The house was off West Mountain Road, tucked into the edge of the woods. Not isolated exactly, but far enough that if you screamed, nobody would hear unless they were already on the porch. The driveway was gravel, long, with weeds curling in from both sides. His house looked tired. The paint was chipped, and the gutters were sagging. A massive dog barked from behind a side gate, loud, hoarse, and chained. Kenny opened the door wearing tucked-in slacks and an iron shirt, like he'd been expecting a guest, not a laborer. "Theo, right?" he said, smiling like we were old friends. "You look young. That's good. Energy matters." I nodded, half smiling. He handed me gloves that looked older than me and pointed toward the overgrown backyard. "Start with the vines near the fence, the ones with the thorns. Just take your time." The dog barked again, and he added, "Don't mind Sherman, he's all noise." I got to work. The gloves were too thin, and the vines were more like brambles, thick, wiry, clinging to my sleeves. Twice I cut my hands, the sting sharp, the blood quick. After maybe 40 minutes, Kenny brought me lemonade in a glass cup. Not a bottle, not a plastic cup, like it was a tea party. "You can take breaks inside if it gets too hot," he said. "Sherman's chained, he won't bite." But I didn't want to go inside, not yet. Something about the house made my skin crawl. Still, I needed the 100, so I kept working. The sun climbed high and slow, baking the yard in sticky humidity. The dog barked less now, probably bored of me. I had almost cleared half the fence line when Kenny came out again, this time without lemonade. Just questions. "You close with your family, Theo?" he asked, like he was a therapist. "Not really," I said, pulling a vine from under the fence. "No girlfriend either." "Nope," he nodded, like that meant something. "Sometimes it's easier alone. That's all right. Not everyone needs someone." He hovered nearby, watching my hands more than the yard. After a few minutes, he smiled. "Make a great chicken soup. Lunch is almost ready." I muttered thanks and kept working, though my stomach was starting to grumble. He didn't go back inside right away.
"You ever sleep in your car?" he asked. I blinked and stood up. "No, why?" "Just wondering. Sometimes life gets tight, and you find yourself alone in a parking lot thinking, how did I get here?" I wiped sweat from my face. "I'm good, really." "Of course," he said, smiling again. It didn't reach his eyes. By noon, I'd finished the fence line and started stacking the old wood by the shed. That's when Kenny called out from the back door. "Come eat before it gets cold." I hesitated. Calvin's warning echoed in my head. Craigslist is where caution goes to die. But I was starving, and the yard work was legit so far. Inside, the house was quiet, still. No radio, no hum of a refrigerator, just walls that hadn't seen sunlight in years. There were no family photos, no clutter, just blank beige walls, a thin rug, and a ticking clock that sounded louder than it should. He served soup in a ceramic bowl. Chicken, celery, carrots, homemade, just like he said. "Don't worry," he said, smiling. It didn't reach his eyes. I didn't laugh. I ate quickly, eyes on the floor, pretending to be fine. "You're good with your hands," Kenny said. "You around more often. Strong back, reliable. I could use someone like you." I kept my spoon moving. I really just needed the cash. "Oh, of course, he said. I finished the bowl and stood up. "I should head out soon. My cousin needs the car by 3. His smile faded for the first time. "I thought you needed money." "I do. I'm just on a schedule." His expression was unreadable. "This job pays good either. Hope he's okay. A boy came by 2 months ago just like you. Didn't finish the job." I didn't say anything, just moved toward the door. He didn't stop me, just stood there in the kitchen, hands at his sides, smiling faintly. I left fast, heart hammering. That night, I lay on Calvin's couch staring at the popcorn ceiling, trying to forget the way Kenny said, "I thought you needed money." At 10:42 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. "If you're still hungry, I have another shift. This time, no vines, just stories." I blocked it, didn't even reply. The next day, I searched Craigslist again, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. Rent money, groceries, gas. But there it was, the same ad, same wording. Only now it said, "120 cash, must be okay with dogs, repeat applicants welcome." Something in my chest sank. I flagged the post. That night, I told Calvin. He whistled low and shook his head. "Don't come back from gigs like that. You're lucky, man. Some people—" He stopped. "What do you mean?" I asked. "There's guys out there who look normal, nice even, but they're just waiting. Craigslist is perfect for them. Cheap, quiet, off the books. Who's gonna track a missing yard worker? You." I didn't sleep much after that. Over the next week, I tried to push it down, but something stayed with me. Not fear exactly, not even trauma, just something heavy. I started watching every person more closely, every smile, every ad. I realized how thin the line is between a $100 gig and a headline that starts with "Unidentified remains found." Kenny never texted again, not from that number, but the post kept showing up. Sometimes with a different pay rate. Sometimes "must like dogs" was replaced with "comfortable in secluded settings." Each time, I flagged it. Each time the post came back under a different name, a different number, a different version of the same trap. I never called back, but I never forgot either. Not the way he asked about my family, not the smile that didn't reach his eyes, not the sound of that chain around Sherman's neck. That's what I learned. Predators don't announce themselves. They offer lunch. They ask questions. They smile like they care. And if you're desperate enough, broke enough, alone enough, you might just walk through that door. I got a job at a grocery store a week later. It paid less, but it was real. And every time I scrolled past a help wanted ad on Craigslist, I thought about Kenny, about the boy who didn't finish the job, about all the people still looking because they had no other choice. That feeling you get when something feels off? Trust it. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions, and not every offer, no matter how much you need it, is worth the risk.